despite finally getting a sub 20th place finish, Jack Mitchell is still in that region where he's the first driver we have to talk about in these racing videos. So yeah, I mean 19th place in race 2 might not seem that spectacular, but I think it shows a sign that he's actually fighting with people, but not quite getting the results that reflect that. But I still think for being close to people in the majority of races in these recent rounds, have really improved my opinion of him, and I think it would be pointless going back to Millie Challenge, for example, next year. I think Touring Cars he's worth keeping in this sport, and if he's in a better team and car next year, I have a feeling he'll be fighting for points because he can battle with people, but he just needs to work on getting the results that he's fighting for. But for the moment, he's still at the bottom of that of the regular drivers we have to talk about. But for the pace this weekend, Mitchell can go in B. And indeed, a little further down, finishing races, but not very well. Pretty much in no man's land for most of the time. Not much to say. Again, we didn't see too much of him. It seems to only be when or if he has an incident. So yeah, not too much to say about that. So neat for being stuck in no man's land and not really having anyone to fight with. I think I'll put him in C. And Nick Hamilton, a very similar story. So I think I'll put him in C tier, of course. I don't know if with Hamilton. It's the Cupra itself has not been great since about Alton Park. I'd say it has dipped a little bit, and Nick, we know Nick loves his championship. That's why he stayed in there. He's good. He's good for the business side of things. He's a very business minded, a good talker. But clearly, I really don't think he's enjoying himself right now, and I think I have to question if Touring Cars is still the place for him at this point. Him being a big name for proving the doubters wrong about his dispersity, for making his way up to the series he loves the most, is impressive, and I'm sure he would find somewhere else. But I think his time in Touring Cars, I think it's best for him if this was his last season. But anyway, if not, he's still welcome addition whatever happens. Rick Parfitt now, finishing all his races once again. Not sure what happened in race 2, but that was a pretty low result. But the other two were actually pretty decent in the fight in that late teens to early 20s region. So not too bad. It's been a little while since his last DNF, so consistency is there, getting finishes when they matter most. Nowhere near points yet, but I think for a rookie in what is still a pretty fresh and new car, the Hyundai, I don't think expectations were too high for him in his first season, so points finishes would be. I'm sure there are a lot of rookies in the Touring Cars in recent memory that have not scored points in their first season. So yeah, I'd say in terms of next year, I think Parfitt is worth keeping around for improving his racecraft, for improving his starts. I think he's developed, and I think he will only get better as the seasons go by. So Parfitt, not quite a B tier, but he's had better weekends, so he'll go in C. Jade Edwards now, pretty impressive qualifying in 16th, and was I think in the battle for 18th for quite a while, and was hanging on to it for quite a while, but not sure what happened that made her drop to 25th. I'm sure it was something of it, some kind of mistake or incident, unfortunately. And although it was much better in slight improvement in race 1, and then dipped again in race 3, slight improvement in race 2, I mean, and dipped in race 3. So. And pit stop problems in race 3. So yeah, still another tough weekend for Jade Edwards. It's difficult to tell if she'll add to that 1 point she achieved at the start of the year, but all things considered, I think Jade Edwards probably wouldn't have expected too much this year. She'll be disappointed for the bad luck, but in terms of first proper season, I don't think she should be too despondent. But and I hope she still comes back next year stronger still. So Edwards will get for having the pace in qualifying, and for the most of race 1 before the error, she can go in B. Sam Smeltz now. DNF at the start of race 3 was probably his only notable moment. Apart from that, just the usual high 20s, late teen results. It's good. Still hasn't added to those 2 points he got at the start of the year, and for the Toyota Corolla, which Butcher has improved in and got more comfortable with as the season has gone on. Smeltz really hasn't, or well, he has at times, just not been getting the results for it. So it's questionable whether he will keep that seat at Speedworks next year. So for that reason, Smelts can get C for this weekend. Jack Butel now. Once again, for a bit like Croft, I'd say the results have dipped a little bit, and the general pace wasn't quite there. So no points on this occasion, or really noticeable results. So Butel can get a C tier also, quite a few in there this time actually. I think to get 3 points finishes in total, a slight improvement. There were times where I thought Butel was in a good shot of best of the rest in Jack Sears Trophy, getting second behind the very dominant Rowbottom, but not as of late for Butel. I don't think he'll quite get there, but it has improved, and for comfortably the third best high on die, I think if he stays with that team next year, he will want considerably better, but not every weekend has been on fire for him, so he'll want that next year. Sam Osborne had a very steady weekend on this occasion. Gets a really decent qualified performance, and that immediately transitioned with matching his best result of the year in 12th. No more points for races 2 and 3, but there was a good amount of competitiveness in him on this occasion. So very decent. I think in terms of next year, it's the third different car he's driven in a row. I don't, because since his dad owns the team, I don't see him going anywhere else next year. I just hope next year is a decent improvement, and he's getting more of these points finishes, and he was a good contender in last year in the Honda. So hopefully we'll see more of that in 2022. So Osborne could go in B for a nice steady weekend. Speaking of what I had in mind for Jackson's Trophy, Carl Boardley, he did not get it this year. Try again in 2022, I guess. Pretty miserable qualifying. Didn't really improve in race 1, despite the Infiniti, rear-wheel drive Infiniti, which should be amazing at the start, but he didn't seem to make any progress on that occasion. But then in race 2 and 3, little improvements here and there. No points though, and a little distance behind that top 20 place that I'm sure he would have liked to have achieved. So for that reason, Boardley, yeah, he will join a lot of his friends, the friends he often has to race against in C tier. Taylor Smith now, Aaron Taylor Smith. Again, I think clearly the better driver at Cupra right now in the team hard Cupra. Top 20 finishes once again, still consistently finishing. P12 in race 3, the only points finish to my surprise. I thought he'd achieve one more for some reason. Anyway, very decent, and closing in on probably his closest contender, Tom Chilton, for 19th place, which doesn't seem like much, but still pretty impressive for a nice return in a new car. So yeah, I said before the Cupra's dipped, and Taylor Smith has thrived in it a bit more like what we saw him in the past when he was BMR BKR driver. So not too bad, Taylor Smith. I think yeah, for having good pace and quite easily getting that 12th place in race 3, Taylor Smith can get 8 here. Tom Chilton next. Speaking of Tom Chilton, nice to speak to him on the warm-up lap of race 3, because he has been an anomaly this year, and when we have seen him, it's been in a somewhat embarrassing or disappointing incident. But 3 top 20s in the end. Towards the end of that top 20, sadly, no more points, which is, I think, yep, only the second meeting of the year where he hasn't got points. A very miserable weekend for Sicily Motorsport overall. But generally, still consistent pace, but not quite getting the points finishes he'll really crave, and good to know he's enjoying driving this rear-wheel drive car, and hopefully he'll enjoy it even more in 2022, and I hope he stays there at least. So C tier for Chilton this week. Ollie Jackson now, and real improvements, and actually getting the 3 points finishes he'd been fighting for previous meetings, but ultimately in the end something would happen that would prevent him from getting them. A return to the top 10 race 1, tipping slightly in race 2 when actually he was in I believe in 7th for a little while, so that would have been a real improvement. And then to 11th in race 3. Not quite. I think 7th place probably would have given him 8 anyway, but for clearly having the pace, I think I will keep him in that tier. So very well done, Ollie Jackson. A good improvement, and I believe he really does like Brands Hatch, so he might end a disappointing season on a slight high. Now Jack Gough, who actually had more points finishes than Taylor Smith on this occasion. despite only beating him in race 2. So those two are like they're swapping quite a lot in terms of who's the number 1 at that team. And if they were a top team, getting top 10s left, right, and centre or podiums, they'd be a very interesting lineup. And if that turns out to be a rivalry in the future, I would love to see it. But Gough, yep, consistency once again. No incidents, nothing too much of note. But yeah, yep, consistency as we expect from Gough. So yeah, actually, I will put him in B on this occasion. Ansel Wolfens, now down in 16th place behind people he should be he should be comfortably ahead of. But certainly would have been come the end of Brands Hatch Indy. If there was a YouTuber out there who does those bad seasons videos, like I might do someday, but the ones that Black Flag Ambassador does on NASCAR drivers, I think 2021 would be the one for Tom Oliphant, because it has been, I'd say, disappointing and big mystery as well for having the incidents that's affected his day from the start. Those were unfortunate, but unfortunate, unlucky. But then the lack of pace in the second half of the year and the latest meetings has been really something doesn't add up about that. And I guess all these incidents have knocked his confidence, and it's a real shame because he's now down to 16th, and when really he's a top 10 caliber driver. He has been the last 2 years in that BMW. I think it's a real shame, and then maybe the car's starting to dip. I don't know, but yeah. It's really sad to see, a real disappointment, Tom Oliphant. So I think he himself will be disappointed this season, and I hope it doesn't knock his confidence for future seasons. But yeah, for no sign of pace at all this weekend, no points finishes, which is the first time he's had this year. Oliphant, can't bring myself to put in a D, but he'll go in C. And now Chris Miley in the top 15, pretty usual pace. Starting off with a top 10, which he seems to get a lot in races 1. Then either improves or slightly dips in race 2, which was the latter this week when he dropped to 12th, and then another slight dip in race 3, dropping it to 60th. But I believe he was pretty busy in that race, few little battles here and there. So Smiley, he was never. I don't think he was ever really going to be a massive challenge to Ingram as his teammate at Accelerate. Ingram is the number 1 at that team now. Smiley is comfortably the number 2. And yeah, kind of hope at Brands Hatch GP he gets one podium to finish off the year. Considering how far ahead Ingram was for this year, I think Smiley might question if Accelerate is the team he wants to be with in the future. But predicting touring car driver lineups isn't easy. I can tell you, it's a really mixed up business. But either way, decent pace this weekend. So I think I'll give similar pace to Jackson, getting good results here and there, troubling the usual faster guys. I think he also earns an A tier day. And Jason Plato starting third, and I think Plato got pretty excited by the fact that generally race 1 grid stays pretty consistent for the race. Unfortunately, it was another miserable start, and only dropping to 6th rather, and hanging on to that, and being forced on the gravel. I believe we only saw a glimpse of it in race 2, but he drops to 18th, and nowhere near the competitiveness of him and his teammate Dan Lloyd, and Plato only improving to 15th, and now all of a sudden Lloyd is ahead, which we did not preempt 2 meetings ago. So that's a real surprise, and I think now Plato will be happy to have his younger teammate up there with him, but he's not managed with a history of being happy being a number 2. So he'll be disappointed that considering his start to the year. I mean, he was third. What was he? Third in the standings after the first meeting, and where was Lloyd? Not as high up. So yeah, Plato will look back at this as a year with missed opportunities. So yeah, disappointing. But for the pace in qualifying and race 1, despite the bad starts, Plato can go in B. Speaking of Lloyd, once again a second consecutive second place. I can't say that really fast. And then 5th in race 2, penalty in race 3, which didn't even change his result. He seemed to handle the ballast slightly better this time compared to Silverstone, and is now, as we said, just ahead of Plato. and now pretty close to getting maybe even 11th if he keeps on improving. In terms of next year, I think Lloyd should definitely stay with Power Max Racing. I think Plato will too, because if they do get on, I don't think, as I said, Plato would be happy with that Lloyd beats him in their first year together. But yep, Lloyd's improvements have come, and I think I think for what I believe is still his first full-time year, he should be really happy with this. And the Lloyd hype train from 5 years ago when he was in with Eurotech had great qualifying performances, and then all of a sudden he lost his drive and was struggling to find drives in little teams here and there since then. But now he's found his home. He's getting the podiums, the good points finishes. Lloyd is now here to stay, and finally, so yep, A tier for this weekend, and the man is really going from strength to strength. And it's less the case for Adam Morgan, but real bad luck in race one, having the incident with Jake Hill. Could have been really unlucky, forced into the barrier. Couldn't start race two, and we really couldn't expect too much from race three either. Nobody managing 25th, and now outside the top 10, which so yeah, a really long run of non-points finishes for Morgan. It's disappointing end to the year, so he can go with C tier. Not sure what lies ahead for 2022 for his family team. They might change a few things. The rear-wheel drive car not really been able to match the general BMW team. So yeah, interesting times ahead for Morgan, but this is really unlucky this time at Donington. And Stephen Jelly, much more consistent. I've only just realised this. 18 consecutive points finishes. Only 2 DNFs towards the start of the year. Jelly, wow! I mean, it's a really big surprise, really nice surprise to see this consistency. It's not been champagne results per se, but consistency will help. And although he's a slight distance away from 10th for the championship, which I'd say he's worthy of this year. No, he hasn't been too bad, but still distance away from Sergeson. But unlike Oliphant, Jelly's been finishing the races and not seems to be lacking any confidence at all. So Jelly, for not getting too many, for getting the normal results here and there, slightly improving in race 3, getting a 9th place, I think I'll give him B. Now for the top 10, the new Jack Sears Trophy winner, Dan Rowbottom. I mean, he proved me wrong pretty much from race one at Thruxton, the first time. Yeah, Rowbottom, no question, thoroughly deserved Jack Sears Trophy. Of course, it's a good thing that he won it out, as well as getting podiums to ensure that he won't be eligible for this championship again. Yep, this has been excellent. But to only be 10th, considering he was as high as 3rd after the 4th meeting of the year, I think Rowbottom will say it was good, but we know it could have been better this year. And but to be 10th in his first year with Dynamics, with a win and 2 podiums, I think he will settle for that. But I think the knowledge that a team could do better, that always sticks out to drivers. So, but either way, Rowbottom is here to stay, and things can only get better for him from here. So, yep, no question, A tier for him. Now for another driver doing better than expected this year, Senna Proctor. What can we say? Definitely one of the biggest surprises of the year. And another good weekend at Donington with another top 4 in race 1, dipping slightly in race 2, and then unfortunately a little problem in race 3, dropping to the back. But overall, Proctor's steady pace, consistency, he's more than earned this top 10. Classic case of right car, right time, but he's adapted to it. It took a little while, but he adapted to it and proved a match for Josh Cook in the end. So if it's going to be those two at BTCC Racing next year, it'll be very exciting. I hope they're not just challenging for wins, but championships really. So Proctor, what can you say other than A tier? And it's been almost an S tier season for him. Gordon Shedden now. I guess he must have watched my video last time out and said, "Nah, mate, Donington will be even better." I can't really do a good Gordon Shedden impression. Anyway, back on the top step. It took longer than expected, but he got there, and he got a win in race 2, which is really debatable. but we'll cover that later. Anyway, 2 wins with Matt, and seems to handle the ballast in race 2 quite well. Wasn't too far behind Ingram when they crossed the line, and starting 11th in race 3. Couldn't expect too much, and only dropped to 13th, which I think might have been the best points haul of the day. So, yep, where else could Chilton go other than S tier? While we're on the subject, so I think Chilton's season. If we'd said after at the start of the year that Chilton would have to wait until the 9th meeting of the year to get his first win, I think people would be surprised. But knowing the bad luck he's had and the general pace he's had otherwise, I don't think Shen would be too despondent come the end of this year. He's had to race people who were nowhere near challenging him the last time he was around. So yeah, his approach had to change this year, and but now he never really lost it. So we can see that now, and he could deal with adversity and bad luck without too many problems. So yeah, Sheldon is back, and like with Rowbottom, that team will only improve unless Matt Neal decides to come back, or bring in his son Henry, or bring Cavish back. But if it ends up being Sheldon and Rowbottom for 2022, I'll be very happy. Navigator Moffat also set for his first ever top 10 in the championship. Dipped in really poor qualifying, but doing a very 2020 Ash Sutton performance, avoiding carnage, making up places, getting 13th in race 1, and then race 2 and 8th, which led to a podium in race 3. So back on the podium, and continues his run of finishes. Well, only 1 DNF this year, I've just noticed, and very few finishes outside the points. So yep, it absolutely makes sense that for him to be in 7th, and with a good shout of 6th place, which I think he can realistically get. But if not, this will still be the make season, not the break season for Moffat, and a real step up from previous years. So Moffat, no question, could go in A tier. And S tier will go to Roy Butcher for definitely getting the second most points out of Donington. A 3rd in race 1, could have been a race win in 2, but lost out to the faster drivers Shen and Ingram as the race went on. But and then backed up with a 4th place in race 3 despite a decent amount of ballast. So very well done, Butcher. Like his brother-in-law Sheldon, I think Butcher will say he could have been amongst that the general top 5. But to have been given this seat in the Corolla, a car not really proved to be a match to their previous car, the Avensis. But he adjusted to it nice and quickly. Got some pretty exciting race wins, and it clearly shows that that Motorbase he is an adaptable driver to any team, and so if it helps, but I think Speedworks might be his new home for now, and I hope he stays there for 2022. Now with Josh Cook, slight dip I think on this particular weekend. Not too many stand-up performances, which I think is perhaps the sign that maybe if the disqualification in Silverstone hadn't happened, Cook probably wouldn't be a massive contender in comparison to Turkison, Ingram, and Hill. I think Cook will hang on to that 5th place, which I still believe is his best result. But I think yeah. Cook, yeah, definitely could have been in that top 4 come the end of this year, but his pace in Donington and other meetings this year is a sign that perhaps, he might, it probably wasn't this year. It probably wasn't the case this year, but maybe in the future. So Cook, for this weekend, will get a B, but just hope he has a decent finish to the season, because to match the good start to the year he had. Now Jake Hill. Wasn't too troubled by the ballast in qualifying this time, but then had the incident with his teammates and Morgan in race 1, which delayed him and got him 17th. But the pace he had with all the ballast, getting him up to 17th, was still pretty impressive. Followed by then more great pace to get 9th in race 2, a high grid position for race 3, and hang on to 2nd quite comfortably. So Hill, the pace is still there. I still think he has a very good shout of getting 2nd, but if not, 4th at worst is still mighty impressive, and despite 2020 being the possibly the best year of his career, he's gonna massively improve on that as well. So Hill, where else could you put him other than A tier? In Ingram now, struggling with the ballast for qualifying and race 1 again, getting 11th, but I guess at the start of race 2 he was shot out of cannon really, just coming out of nowhere to get in to get the top 5 almost straight away, clearly being the faster car, moving up to second place not long after, overtaking Chilton. We'll get into that. and then comes the push to pass penalty, which, okay, if it's done before in recent meetings in recent years. If that's always been the case, fair enough. It was a great drive from Ingram, enough to give him the S tier for this video. But I still, I just hope to making these decisions. I think if they argue that, well, we did this last time and we want to be consistent, we should include penalties for if someone pushes to pass someone. I have absolutely no problem with that. I just hope it doesn't discourage people from racing people. Discouraging them from trying to overtake. You shouldn't penalise touring car drivers for trying to do touring car moves. That's all I have to say on the matter. Either way, the day was really good for Ingram. He's still definitely on a charge to get that second in the championship. We'll see if he can do it and equal his career best. I think overall this season, adjusting to accelerate after so many years with Speedworks, it was always going to be a little bit tough, and he did adapt to it very well. But I think it was never quite possible to match those Infinities to BMWs, the Fords, the usual guys. But still decent from Ingram, and I think if he thinks his future is with that team, all respect to him. Now Colin Turkington, decent pace in race 1 to get 5th. I think he had a pretty busy time in that race, but his pace very much improved in race 2, getting the fastest lap and challenging for 3rd. And then came the spin, which, I mean, if we ever found out later that this is the touring car's version of NASCAR Spin Gate, where Turkington would drop to 11th, Jody Kidd, who was in the BMW stand, would take out number 11 and put Turkington on pole. That would be a really good story, but that's probably not what happened. So so that's all I'm going to say on the matter. Anyway, race 3, getting reverse grip pole, vintage Turkington pull away. He starts first. He tends to stay first, and that's been no different this year. It's been a different season for him in general, having to actually fight for points this time and not do his usual approach of settling for points. So Turkington, I think he's probably got the best chance of getting that P2 in the championship, and I think it will be one where he thinks maybe I need to question my driving style next year, even though it's worked in the past. So yeah, it's been a real we might see a very different Colin Turkington next year, and I'm pretty excited to see it. He'll be disappointed to be carrying the number 2 again next year, after finishing second a 3rd time to Ash Sutton. But in a season where he's got the wins and the podiums and the points finishes when they matter most, I think Turkington will have enjoyed this year for the fact that it was a learning year where the fact his approach might have to change to touring cars. But another driver who's changed his approach this year, Ash Sutton, who didn't get the miserable results that his rivals wanted him to have. So now I think Sutton has one hand on that championship trophy, as I pretty much expected. No podium finishes for the first time since Alton Park, but points. But as he's learnt, points finishes are what matter, and are almost sometimes just as important as the podiums and the wins. So yeah, it's I think if he doesn't get it in, I'd be very surprised if Sutton doesn't seal the championship in race 1. If not, it'll be pretty easier job in race 2. But I think in general for championship number 3, I don't know if he will hold this championship in as much as high a regard as the previous 2, because guessing four wins in comparison to I'm sure he had a lot more in the other 2 championships he won. So yeah, but I think you'll be happy with this being a learning year because now, I mean, won three championships in 2 or 3 different ways. I think now Sutton will be thinking, what next, really? Because he will come back next year with the same team, undoubtedly. Try and get for championship number 4 and beat equal Roush and Turkington. But I generally don't know what Sutton wants to do next because he's 27 years old. He's clearly proven to be one of the best touring car drivers in recent memory. Does he want to spend the next few years of his career in a championship where we know where he's proved himself already? Um, yeah, I'm not just saying this because I'd like Sutton to find something else to do so someone else can win the championship, but not at all. I just want Sutton to consider his options. I think he is one of the best drivers in one of the best touring cars in Britain. Can he go up against the best touring car drivers in the world? So yeah, what I'm saying is I'd like to see Sutton have a crack at the global touring car championships, the TCR, World Touring Car Championship. I'd love to see him try that and see what he can do up against those guys. That would be pretty amazing. And if he equals or beats them, that would show this was our guy. This is our this is Britain's secret weapon, and he's beating all these guys from these touring car drivers from all over the world. I would love to see that. So yeah, but anyway, back to this year. Yeah, another decent weekend. We'll give him an A tier, not quite S. I think that goes to a very unique list on this occasion. So there are my ratings for this week, guys. Really looking forward to what they call a championship showdown at Brands Hatch GP. It isn't really. Sutton's obviously going to guess it, unless something absolutely disastrous happens, in which case the other guy probably wouldn't deserve it as much. So yeah, this is Sutton's year. If he doesn't get it, I think a lot of people will be disappointed and agree that Sutton deserved it more. But look forward to the final meeting of the year. You'll see my ratings video on the Wednesday, as per usual. It's quite. I'm questioning over whether I'll do it again in 2022. It is a long process to make these kind of videos, but only if people want me to. So thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.